Billionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
A poor man prayers,
every man bleeds.
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy SL550, and this is the N.G.L.A podcast. Today, man, we got some big shit going on. We got a press brief with Caroline Levitt and Tulsi Gabbard. Also, we're going to give you the Epstein update. We're going to be talking to, I got a clip from TMZ talking to one of Epstein's lawyers. This is the lawyer. I know his first name is Alan. He has I believe he said he had a gag order, and he really can't give like specific details to this whole Epstein situation, but he's going to be talking about that, and we'll react to that. Also, we're going to end the show today with talking and reacting about Dr.Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson. They having a debate over, I guess, black people selling out and, you know, Pan-Africanism and all of that. So we're gonna react to that and give our little feedback on that. It's gonna be a good one today, man. Might be even a little long. We're just gonna rock out and have some fun with it, man. And also, my wife was telling me, man, it's about time that you take off the hat and show the bald head. Like, I don't know, like, I like the bald head, but I like wearing hats. I always wear hats, but I figure I let it be free and let it breathe today. So we're gonna rock the bald head today, and let's get into it, man. Oh, what am I doing? Before we start, make sure y'all like, share, comment down below. Also subscribe to the channel. I really truly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow, and without y'all, the channel is nothing. So also hit that notification bell so you get notified every time your boy drop a dope fucking video. Let's go. Let's get into this. Let me see. Let me make sure everything is okay. Everything is good. Let's get into this Tulsi. Let's get into this press brief. Let's see what she's talking about.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special guest with us today who will speak momentarily. But first, I would like to begin with a message from the White House to the families, the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today and addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable tragedy, especially the parents who lost their children. Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes it is non-negotiable that the United States wins the AI race, which is why today, President Trump will announce a bold and comprehensive AI action plan to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon. On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the historic U.S.-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other has ever achieved. The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to America.
Yeah, I want to say real quick before she finishes, because I'm gonna let this rock out. Maybe stop once or twice, but I wanted to say that I be seeing videos of these Trump haters who just hate Donald Trump so much that they try to pick apart every little thing to try to make it seem like Donald Trump is doing a bad job. But I just wanted to say, man, Donald Trump is doing what's best for America, bro. And he's making these big deals. And what people don't understand about this whole tariff thing and the things that he was doing to that people made it look like he was just trying to penalize countries and stuff like that. When no, all he was doing was making good deals that benefit America, number one. But number two, open up these other countries. That's what people always leave out. And I want to say that because he just made these big deals. I heard the news yesterday. He broke it on True Social. And so at the end of the day, he's trying to open up other markets. So not only do countries have the ability to bring their goods in America, we have the ability to sell our goods and our agriculture in their countries too, which is going to bring more money for America and also bring good trade. You know what I mean? Bring good trade between countries and good business. And that's what it's about, And I've been noticing, and I ain't really want to say much about it, but I've been noticing gas going down. Things are going down. It's going to take time for it to get to a level where people see significant, changes to their pockets. But it's happening. And that's at the end of the day, if you don't give the man nothing, just give him that. Give him the fact that he's actually doing things that are benefiting America and not just sending billions of dollars to Zelensky and, doing bad trade deals with China where only China wins. Like, come on, what are we talking about? I'm an American citizen. I don't even like the whole race thing, all the division that's going on in America. I think that's what a lot of these people want. They want division. They don't want us coming together on common causes. They want us divided. So that's why they, you got the blacks against the whites, the trans people against these people. Everybody is so-called against each other. But at the end of the day, we're still all American citizens. And you want your president to do what's best for America. Just like if you was from any other country, you would want them to represent your country the best. So I don't understand people when they bitch and complain about Donald Trump and tariffs and things like that. At the end of the day, if you have a business, right? You're not just let's just say you got a boutique, right? And you got people selling goods in your boutique, whether it's clothes, jewelry, whatever. You're not just going to let anybody just come and sell goods in your boutique and not charge them a percentage off of what they sell in your store. So it doesn't make sense that people agree with these Democrats who just want all of these countries to prosper like America can't prosper. Like we're good. We got all the money in the world and we don't need to make more money. And people in America, we don't need shit. We're good. When we got all the same things other countries have, we have here in America. We got drug problems, homelessness, veterans not getting the support that they need. All of it. They try to show you pictures and things like that of these countries and how poor they are and shit like that. But when you actually go to these countries, they're beautiful countries, including Africa. Because they like to show you the huts and all of that shit. People, living in mud houses and shit like that. But bro, it's not like that in Africa, bro. I'm pretty sure that there's parts like that, in certain places. But for the most part, bro, every country has been industrialized, bro. And Donald Trump wants to do what's best for America, bro. Sorry I was kind of ranting on there, but it be just blowing my shit that people constantly, I see people constantly bitching online about what Donald Trump is doing. But yeah, I heard nobody bitching and complaining when gas was damn near $5 a gallon in New Jersey. And like, what are we talking about, bro?
American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home. As President Trump said, he will only lower tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products. If not, they will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market on the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably delivered on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation is currently at its lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American working for all job gains. The president has put the economic needs of families and of workers first. He signed the largest tax cuts for the middle class in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for 2 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. The president has also, as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. The president has also restored law and order to make America safe again, another campaign promise he vowed to the American public. The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from the last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021. The president has also rebuilt our military, another campaign promise. He just signed the largest military investment in decades to modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world. The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored America's standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars. Again, all of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's new program to end the war between Israel and Iran, got NATO members to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP, and secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts. Again, all of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We are truly just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President.
Yo, real quick, before she get into this with Tulsi, I want to, do you hear the things that she's saying? And this the thing, right? When you go back and look at, I forget her name. She had like one of them fake French names that was the press secretary under Joe Biden. Every time that she stood up here and did the same thing that Caroline Leavitt is doing, she told lies. She lied to the people. And on top of that, it was always like controversy. You know what I mean? Even though they still do the same thing, even with Caroline Leavitt, when you watch her, right, you see the confidence. You see that what she's saying is real. Now, granted, Trump is going to be Trump. Trump is going to exaggerate things, you know, even though it's good. You know, he's going to tell you it's great. And that's just the businessman in him. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you got to really take into account the contrast between the two. It's not even close, bro. And the shit that Donald Trump has done in 6 months is like 10 times more than what Joe Biden did, because Joe Biden didn't do anything. Even Obama, the one thing that Obama did was Obama, kind of kept things, he still had, the economy was still good under Obama. You know what I mean? We came out of that 2008 housing crisis and all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, Obama didn't really fuck shit up. Obama just didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Especially for the black community. The people who pretty much got him there. You know what I mean? So, people can say what they want, man. But this dude is definitely doing a lot in a short period of time. And they want to try to overpower what he's doing with like the Epstein files and shit like that, and try to make it seem like that's like the biggest thing in the world, when it's really not, bro. When you really break it down, is it something that the people want to know about and have, specific details about, and especially they want to know who was involved, because allegedly it's, big business people, politicians, a lot of people, and people even putting Trump name in it. You know what I mean? But we've talked about that before. We won't get into the Epstein thing, so I'm not gonna go into that. But just look at the difference, man. It's like crazy, bro.
President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people. While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies. President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016, and in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards. Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous.
Hey, yo. Y'all, you really gotta really think about this whole thing, bro. This shit is crazy. Like, you really gotta think about the lengths that they're willing to go to in order to stay in power. Because that's really what it's all about. They just really want to stay in power so they can, I'm going to keep saying this, bro. They want to control the American people, bro. And that's really what it was all about. And I showed the clips of Barack Obama when he was talking to Stephen Colbert, and he said that that if he could, and he was dead serious too. You know what I mean? He could sit there and, you know, have the little chuckle and Stephen Colbert laughing, but he was dead serious when he said he wished that he could have an earpiece and basically have a puppet that he can control. Like, he was dead serious. And he did it with Joe Biden. And he realized that our people are on to Joe Biden. He ain't all there. So we need somebody else. And Kamala Harris, she just wanted to be the so-called first black female president, or the first female president, however you want to put it. She didn't care. She was willing to do whatever, say whatever, and do whatever in order to get in that position. And if you just got to really think if she would have gotten this position, bro. Just think about all the shit that they did up to this point to Donald Trump. Like, that's why you gotta respect this dude, bro. This dude went through so much shit. Think about all the money he spent going back and forth to court for all of these, you know, so-called crimes that he did. Like, I would say all of it, maybe except for him fucking a porn star chick or some shit like that, was all bullshit. And even that was like, who cares? All right. But at the end of the day, they put this dude through everything. Literally tried to assassinate this guy, man. Like, this shit is deep, bro. This is deep. And nobody was really hearing a lot about Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? People were saying little things here and there, but nobody really thought that Obama was really, you know, in this deep. But when like the video I showed from the channel, we got the receipts, and she broke everything down, and you look at everything, and you be like, damn, it was there all the time, all along. But the biggest thing that I told you that they do, is projection, bro. They're the fucking best at it, bro. And saying that, you know, for instance, Donald Trump is trying to be a dictator. He's trying to stay in power forever and all of this shit. When really that's what they wanted. They want the Democratic Party to be in power forever so they can control the American people. They control, you know, all the money and shit like that. But when you look at everything, all the money, all the billions of dollars that they wasted of our money, because it's our money. It's the American people's money. It's not, the government doesn't make money. They get their money from the American people working and shit like that. This shit crazy.
The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was quote-unquote unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's oversight report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected. Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, we assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances, when possible, by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him, end of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true. With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than the discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex. John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew It was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway. CIA told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, the director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it. And when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, yes, but doesn't it ring true? Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, there is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election. This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's director of national intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same class that President Obama received, which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome. This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 intelligence community assessment that leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Dang, I know they're gonna get to questions, and I think this joint's a little long, but we rocking out today, man. But I want to hear some of the questions because that'd be the interesting part to these press briefings. But what she is giving isn't her opinion, bro. Remember, this is declassified information that she's revealing. This is why they really tried to whack Trump, because they did not want him to be president because they knew that he was going to come on some different shit. And they won't. Just think about it. They literally went after this dude in court, costing millions and millions of dollars. Shoot, I think the one case with what was it, Letitia James? I believe he lost, and I think he is on appeal, but it's like upwards of like almost $400 million that he had to pay out over some even though the bank that he got this loan from, it was good business, basically. Like, the bank didn't have no issues with Donald Trump. It wasn't like they were taking him to court. He got took to court because she wanted to go after him. She literally became, you could say, somewhat, she got her little 15 minutes of fame off of Donald Trump. Off of going after Donald Trump. Bro, these people are so corrupt, it's ridiculous, bro. That's why, like, when it's so hilarious to me when people, and I'm just happy that all of this shit is coming out because, you know, I've done had debates and stuff like that with people about, you know, all of this stuff. And mind you, my position is coming from just, like, I'm not biased. It's not like I'm a Republican and I'm like everything Trump. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, if Trump do some fuck shit, I'm gonna say Trump did some fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? But the facts of the matter is that they used lawfare. They went after Donald Trump. They literally, it got to the point. Remember what Andrew Tate said? He said first they gonna try to come after you, blackmail you, lock you up. Then they gonna try to when that don't no. What he say? He said they're gonna try to basically use like the news and the media to go after you. When that don't work, they're gonna try to lock you up. When that don't work, they're gonna try to off you. Look, like literally, they're doing the same thing to Donald Trump. But unfortunately, it ain't work. You know what I'm saying? They missed their shot. But this shit is deep though, man. This shit is crazy. It's mad interesting, bro. Just to show you like how corrupt these politicians be, and like just like this should be just deeper than what people think. They think everything is just like ABC shit when it's not. It's like these people are like their intentions are crazy, bro. And just look at the lengths that they went to basically make Donald Trump look like he was in cahoots with Vladimir Putin. When I showed you videos yesterday with Barack Obama getting caught on the hot mic saying that my presidency is about to be over. When it's over, I have more flexibility. Him all laughing up all crazy with Putin. But yet he turns right around and says that Donald Trump is cozying up to Putin when even Victor David Hansen said that Trump was the hardest on Russia by stopping the Nord Stream pipeline and just not allowing Putin to have as much power as, you know, he wants. Period. He was the hardest on them, on Russia. But yet they literally, it's why when you control television, vision, then you control the narrative. And they was able to convince the American people that Donald Trump was cozying up with Vladimir Putin, and that was the reason why he won the election. It wasn't because the American people voted for him. It was because they hacked and used cyber hacking and helped Donald Trump win. But like, you know, from like the average person from the outside, like us looking at this, we just be like, all right, okay, just like some regular shit is what they do. But in the political world, and then with, you know, how they're looking at this, like they're using words like treason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. Like, he literally had to report. These is like, you can see her reading. She's actually reading reports of like accurate of names, times, dates, when these things happen. And just think about it. Obama knew that there wasn't any evidence that said that Donald Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin to win the 2016 election. But yet he still put it out there as if he did. And they ran that shit on I showed the clips of them running it on every news station, just everywhere. Like, we can't even fathom that. When you really think about it, like, just think about that. Like, you're high ranking like person, celebrity, whatever you want to say, and they just make up a story about you and just flood that shit all over the world. Like, I can't even imagine like how that's like crazy. But anyway, let's see what else they talking about.
Well, thank you, Tulsi. And we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time for this topic. She will leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior? We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former
The
President
evidence,
Obama?
correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just to, two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community.
Yo, I want people to keep in mind, I've said this multiple times, but keep in mind, Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat for years. She's always been a Democrat up to this past election. She turned Republican. And you got to remember the reasons why she turned on the Democratic Party and went and became a Republican. Because she saw the corruption, she saw the bullshit. She has no benefit whatsoever. She already was, in politics, making whatever money that they make. She already was in there. You know what I mean? When she showed signs that she wasn't with the corruption and the bullshit, what did Hillary Clinton do? She started saying that she was a Russian spy and they said that she was they put her on like a terrorist watch list and all of this shit. Like they went after her too. So she's seen the playbook, she's seen the corruption, she's seen the bullshit, and she's now with the Trump administration. She has nothing to gain from putting these type of things out there. And it's not coming from her just giving her opinion, oh, I think this and I think that. No, she is giving you actual evidence that she found these classified documents that she has went through and came up with the conclusion that she is coming up with now and giving to the people. So he can sit here and say all he wants that, well, they looked into this and they came to a bipartisan agreement that there was nothing going on and this, that, and the third. But obviously, if Tulsi Gabbard, I've seen Tulsi Gabbard, she ran as a Democrat. You know what I mean? She was a Democrat her whole life. You really got to take things like that into consideration. Like, and her character. That's another thing that people, when I evaluate a lot of things in life, I evaluate character. Tulsi Gabbard has always been like level-headed, like intelligent, just a person who you can tell that she's not bullshitting you. You feel what I'm saying? Well, you could tell. And like her character speaks for that. So for her to get on the biggest stage of her life and started saying these things about the former president Barack Obama, bro, then you know that they have it. They have the information. You know what I mean? So let's finish up with these questions.
Is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals who are some still working within these agencies today that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, and you will know the truth.
What, you hard of hearing, boy?
Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were...
Exactly. When he was president the first time, he faced a lot of bullshit because he didn't know who was who. So this question is a good question, but at the same time, that's why Trump fired a lot of people, because he picked people based on like people telling him, like advising him. He picked a lot of people based off being advised to do so. So, and that was basically to control Trump, because they knew that he wasn't, one of the ones. He wasn't a puppet. He wasn't, just with the shit. And that's why Trump fired a lot of people and had a lot of controversy within his first administration, because, he just didn't know. Whereas though now he knows who is who, what is what. He knows everything. And he got, that's why they be like, oh, he wants loyalists. He wants people he can trust. Why wouldn't you want, if you have an administration, if you have anything, a business, anything, of course you want people around you that you can trust. Like, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to have people around me that, are going to stab me in the back eventually? Like what are you talking about? So now that he has people that he can trust to do their jobs the right way, he put her in this, her role as director of national intelligence, and she's doing her job. So she declassified this information. She went through these reports. Think about it, 6 months. You haven't heard anything really about Tulsi Gabbard that I could think of off top up until now, which means this whole 6 months, pretty much, she has been going through this whole thing, making sure that she had all her ducks in a row before she actually came out with this, because this is a big deal. You're basically going after Barack Obama and all the people under him, and even Hillary Clinton, because she played a part in it too. So this is some big shit, bro. But I just wanted to explain that, and she's kind of saying that right here.
We're working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that
let's go back
this
just a little
was one
bit.
of the...
Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that This was one of the first things that we started to investigate here within this Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question has to do with what intelligence agencies around the world have said about Russia, that they have tried to influence elections in the United States, in France, in Germany, in the UK. Do you disagree with that? Do you believe that Russia is a bad actor as it relates to trying to influence elections?
I'll point back to the intelligence that President Trump has ordered declassified, that we have declassified and released, that the intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what the Obama manufactured intelligence document alleges, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected. Again, going back to the most important point here, with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and therefore subvert the will of the American people who chose to send him to the White House.
Reagan. Thanks, Caroline. Dr. Gabbard, Reagan Race with the Daily Caller. You laid out that the documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish a December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view that that information was kept out of the briefs, then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary Clinton campaign with the Steele dossier.
One more. Maybe either for you or Caroline. The president said yesterday that Obama committed treason. Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
Look, I can speak to the president's feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies. And if you all recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump won presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in the—
Yo, just think about that, though. But they do shit like that all the time. They'll tell you, oh, we have a source, an anonymous source that told me this, that, and the third. But who's this anonymous source? How do we know that they're reliable? How do we know that? We don't know. And that's the things that they do. I can tell you that it's definitively facts that Donald Trump did this, that, and the third. But they never give you where they got the facts from. But you heard what she said. Most importantly, I want you to read these documents. They won't. They're going to keep coming to these briefings and they'll ask, miscellaneous bullshit questions to try to undermine this whole investigation and everything that's going on with it. But this is what they do. They're part of the problem. that's going on in America. And the media plays a big, huge part of the problem, because a lot of people rely on the news to get, factual information on things that's going on in their communities and so forth. You know what I mean? But all they do is, glaze the Democrat Party, pretty much.
This room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies, and it led to impeachments. It led to the division of our country. Unfortunately, so many Americans, from listening to outlets in this room, believed in these lies.
Made a lot of people hate Donald Trump.
It's a complete scam, and it's a scandal, and the president wants to see accountability for that. Phil.
Thank you. Question for Director Gabbard. A spokesperson for former President Obama said in a statement earlier this week, quote, "Nothing in the documents issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes." How do you respond to critics like former President Obama and also others on the Hill who say that the administration is conflating apples and oranges here, conflating allegations of actual hacking of voter machines and allegations of interference generally?
I think it's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal and negative action towards the American people and our democratic republic. The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released. Again, showing that Russia has took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular candidate.
You've long been an opponent of weaponization in government. How do you respond to criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president is just more weaponization, and this is a potential race to the bottom?
I think that's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it would and could then be used for all of the actions that came after.
And I would just add, there needs to be accountability for that weaponization, Phil, that we've seen. And no one has been a victim of the weaponized government more than President Trump, not just because of this political scandal. You all recall his house was raided. So I think, it's very disingenuous for people to say, how dare they speak of former President Obama about this based on evidence and based on intelligence, when the former president of the United States, Donald Trump's home was raided, when he was forced to sit in a Manhattan courtroom and many other courtrooms across the country for crimes he never committed, when he was impeached and indicted, and the entire country witnessed that. That's the weaponization of justice. Now the president is back because the American people see the truth. Nearly 80 million Americans reelected him back to this office, and he believes that we need to have justice and accountability. And I think the nearly 80 million Americans who reelected him agree with that. Caitlin.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yo, bro, you gotta fuck with Caroline Levitt, bro. Straight to the point. Skip the bullshit. Fuck what you talking about. This is what it is. And we not just giving you bullshit like Hillary and them were doing, because they were just putting out lies. And you gotta understand the best form of manipulation is to have everybody saying the same thing at the same time. And I said this before, it's just like anything else. If 100 people are saying that this person does this, then you're automatically going to say, man, listen, bro, if it was just one or two people, all right, bro, but everybody is saying it, bro, it got to be true. And that's the power of words. That's the power of, of putting a narrative out there. Like the media, bro, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? It's in every state, all around the country, and all they have to do is press a button, and I've showed videos in previous episode. I showed a video in one of my previous episodes of literally every single news station across the nation saying the exact same thing, which leads you to what? To believe that they all have got this one paragraph or page or whatever memo that they got. And they all have to say this. And they all said the exact same thing. And I've said this before, bro. This is like social media, even AI and all of this new technology is the thing that is fucking the Democratic Party, because you no longer just got to believe what people tell you because that's just what they say. This ain't the times where all you had was a radio and you got your news and everything from radio. You got visuals now. You got Google. You got the whole internet, social media. You got regular average people like you and I who can be your own journalists and do your own homework on information and put it out there to the public yourself. I started a podcast and I'm it's a lot of people that's talking about this press conference and other things that I'm going to play. You know what I mean? But everybody has a voice now. And this is the very thing that's going to hurt any politician, not just Democrats, Republicans too. Because now people, you can't just bullshit people. Some things you may be able to keep under wraps, depending on how many people know the information. But outside of that, you heard what she said. They got whistleblowers coming forward. A whistleblower is somebody that knows information about something who is coming out now and maybe has some type of immunity or something like that in order to give this information. This ain't nothing new. But this right here is a big deal, bro. And it's just, you got to respect the transparency, bro. And notice that they both said, read these documents. You know what I mean? They're not saying believe. She said it. Don't believe what I'm telling you. Believe the report. Believe we gave y'all to read and to look over yourselves so you can draw your own conclusion. You know what I mean? But these are all fake reporters, bro. They're all paid reporters. They're paid to get up here and basically defend Obama and every Democrat who says some dumb shit or does some dumb shit. And that's what they're going to do. And you could just tell by, look, I got to pause right here. This is Caitlin Collins. She's one of them. She's another Trump hater who hates Trump for whatever. And I don't even think she hates Trump. I just think she's just in the Democrat pocket. And she's willing to say and do anything for the money that she's being paid to do it. These people have money, bruh. These people that own these media companies are fucking billionaires, bro. George Soros and other people, they have big money. Fucking, what was his name? Was it Chris Cuomo, I believe? Who was at the DNC and was talking about, the sky boxes and therefore the elite and all of that. Bro, these people have big money. Enough to pay people $200 a day to go out and protest against Donald Trump across the nation. Think about that.
Two questions for Director Gabbard.
Here
just
she
on
go.
this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust
Literally
and chaos.
just said
but
that.
what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only
Notice what she just said. Who said that? She didn't say, oh, I got this information from... She's not going to say that. Because this is what she said. Because she's going to say anything to undermine this whole thing. But Caroline came straight in like a fucking lion. Like, what? And started going in. Didn't hesitate, didn't stutter, didn't, sound unconvincing. She literally came straight in, let her know, and then went straight to, oh, who said that? Like, yo, I fuck with Caroline Levitt.
only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made. Does anyone else have questions for Director Gabbard? And then we'll turn it over to a couple of
look
questions.
at her face.
Christian, go ahead.
Thank you, Director Gabbard. Two follow-ups on questions that have been asked. You mentioned the previous DNIs during the president's first term. One of them reports to you right now, if I'm not mistaken, John Ratcliffe. So have you not spoken to him about why this information was not declassified during the first term?
He was in that position for a very short
Asking the same question, bro. The same question, bro.
period of time. The work that began back then, we have picked up and absolutely completed. We are continuing to investigate this. Additional whistleblowers are now coming forward because they see an opportunity for the truth to come to light. And as Caroline said, for real accountability to be brought forward. The accountability is the essential part of this. We can show the truth, reveal the truth. The accountability needs to occur to be able to start to restore that trust in the integrity of our democracy.
And then just quickly, I know you said you would leave the charging to DOJ, but the statute of limitations on conspiracy is 5 years. So what else could they possibly pursue besides treason?
I think that's a great question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're providing all of the evidence, all of the intelligence that we have, both redacted and unredacted versions, referring it to the Department of Justice and the FBI.
We'll take one more. Charlie, go ahead.
How credible was the information about Hillary Clinton's power from you? The report said that it was from sourced from the DNC. Have you seen that information? Or do you think that maybe Russia was overemphasizing what they had?
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election.
Yo, real quick, man, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And thank y'all for locking in with me, bro. It's a good one today, people.
As President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information, some of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report, prior to the election to help Donald Trump win. They specifically withheld what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
And if I may, on Jeffrey Epstein, can you rule out that he was connected in some way to any kind of intelligence, either foreign or domestic?
I haven't seen any evidence or information that reflects that. If anything comes before me that changes that in any way, support the president's statement loud and clear. If any credible evidence comes forward, he wants the American people to see it.
Great. Director Gabbard, we thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy woman, so we'll let you get out of here, but thank you so much. Okay. I know there's many issues going on today across the world and here at home. If you have any other further questions, I'm happy to take them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're going to see by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the Philippines as well. The president announcing all three. He came in as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters to countries around the world. But just to reiterate this Japan deal, for those at home who may have missed it, Japan will now pay a 15% tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24% that they initially had. Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced to 15%. But the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S. will retain 90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion fund. This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550 billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key sectors and products that have really faced very strict tariff and non-tariff barriers prior. So thanks to the president, Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods. This is big news for our tech companies and our farmers as well.
On Monday, the Treasury Secretary is going to Stockholm to talk to the Chinese delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks forward to continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The president has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
One more, if I may.
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crimes should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas again.
Good to see you, Olivia. I haven't seen you since the campaign trail.
Yeah, it's good to see you. He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes. Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Wickoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the president and Special Envoy Wickoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
A Florida federal judge has refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials to be released. Does the president want the administration or Department of Justice to appeal that ruling?
That was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the president about it. I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this president speak to whether he wants to see an appeal. And the Department of Justice, I'm sure, can give you a statement on that as well.
And is he supportive of the effort to talk to N.G.L.A. and Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned that earlier this week.
The president spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
What is the accountability that you would like to see if this current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to prosecution, immunity? So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Well, you would agree President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
They worrying about whether Barack Obama gonna be charged or not. Charge his ass. Fuck him. Charge anybody who is, look at her face, bro. Look at her face. That's the face of defeat, people. That's the face of defeat. We're going to move on. If y'all want to check the, it's only like 5-6 minutes left on that video. It was pretty long. I really don't like trying to play these videos too long, but it was a lot of good shit in there, man. But let's move on. I said I was gonna give an Epstein update, so this is a quick little minute or 2 update on one of Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers, and then we'll get into the TMZ interview that they had with one of his other lawyers. So let's get into it.
Tonight, South Florida is remembering a local legend. Renowned criminal defense lawyer Roy Black has died.
Black built a reputation of representing high-profile, sometimes controversial clients, from Jeffrey Epstein to Justin Bieber. Local 10's Christian Del Rosa live now with a look back at his legacy and the mark that Roy Black left on the legal community. Christian.
A long list of very notable and, as you said, at times controversial clients. Talk about someone being so relevant, not just here in Miami, certainly in Miami's legal world, but what many people may have not known is also just how relevant he was here at the University of Miami. He was already a legend in life.
He was such a pillar.
South Florida attorney Roy Black dead at 80. Loved ones saying he passed away at his Coral Gables home Monday after battling an illness while still working at his law firm on South Biscayne Boulevard.
He was the heart and soul and the brains of trial lawyers in South Florida.
Among the renowned attorney's most notable clients, Jeffrey Epstein, William Kennedy Smith, Rush Limbaugh, and Justin Bieber, garnering him celebrity status.
He was not arrogant, though. He was personable, and he was real, and he was approachable.
Attorney and Roy Black fan Todd Michaels.
I think that he had a very unique intellect. Worked harder than anybody, really cared about the craft.
Black was born in New York and grew up in Connecticut, Jamaica, and the Bahamas. He was a N.G.L.A graduate and spent a lifetime teaching at his alma mater.
Over 50 years, every fall, teaching criminal evidence to our students. And he was scheduled to start teaching in August.
Patricia Sanchez-Abril is UM School interim dean.
It shows what kind of man he was, and it shows what his commitment really to the law and to making the profession better.
Roy Black was also married to reality TV star Leah Black. The interim dean of the law school here at UM compared being a student of Roy Black to learning basketball from Michael Jordan. Live at UM in Coral Gables, I'm Christian De La Rosa, Local 10 News.
Had the chance to be around him. Wonderful man. Very nice person. He will be missed. Thanks a lot there, Christian.
Tonight, South Florida is...
Yeah, so I only wanted to play that because just wanted to put it out there. Maybe does this have something to do with Jeffrey Epstein and all of this information that's coming out? There's another lawyer that I believe that he was one of Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers. We about to find out right now, and they're gonna talk. He actually had an interview with TMZ, and they're gonna talk about it, this whole thing. But when stuff like this happens, even though the dude was 80 and they said he was battling the illness, you just have that thing in the back of your mind where you like, damn, did he get offed? You know, because there's some powerful people attached to this whole Jeffrey Epstein situation. The same thing with that Obama situation, you know. Obama was the president of the United States, you know. So stuff get deep, man. Like I said, I only played that because I wanted to just put it in people's mind that maybe, just maybe, that him dying had something to do with all of this Jeffrey Epstein files and credible information being put out. And of course, I seen a video of somebody saying that now that Trump is being tied to Jeffrey Epstein, even though since he's old, he's old, and they said he was ill, but you know they put shit out like they're gonna say that, you know, they say Michael Jackson overdosed, but yeah, the whole doctor that got put on trial, and I believe he was found guilty, and his doctor whacked him. You know, so this should be deeper. These things be just so much deeper. And being as though I know that, it always makes me think when things like this happen that, you know, it's related. You know what I mean? I could be wrong though. You know, it's just what it is. Just knowing the things that I know and, you know, research and stuff like that. Whenever something like this happens, I just automatically just have it in the back of my mind that, man, this dude was offed. It's crazy. And with this whole Obama situation too, you know, they said they got whistleblowers coming forward. Like I said, people start coming up missing, get spooky. Let's get into this interview that they had. I know his first name is Alan. I'm not sure about his last name, but let's get into it.
Who's got a suggestion for him? Someone who is very connected to this case, as in he represented Jeffrey Epstein. That is famed attorney Alan Dershowitz. And he is joining us now to talk about the Epstein files and what the president could possibly do. Alan, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thanks for having me.
Alan, over the weekend, you said, and it sure made sense to me, that the key to this case is Ghislaine Maxwell, and that Congress should give her some form of use immunity to get her to talk, because you said she has all the secrets. My question to you is, what's in it for her to do that if all she gets is use immunity? What about cutting her a deal with the sentence she currently has?
Well, that should be done. The sentence she currently has is not a sentence that was really imposed on her. It was imposed on the dead Jeffrey Epstein. You don't get 20 years for being an assistant or a secretary, even if there were serious crimes. And she had nothing to do with any alleged trafficking. In any event, she should have her sentence commuted. She should be given total immunity, called before Congress, and she'll tell everything. She knows everything. She made all the reservations. When I had to fly down to represent him in front of the Palm Beach District Attorney's office or in front of the U.S. Attorney's office, she's the one who made the arrangements. She knows who was on his plane. She knows who was innocent. If there were any guilty people, she knows who they are. And if you gave her complete immunity and let her out of prison and made a deal with her, this would solve the problem forever. The real problem is that because Jeffrey Epstein is dead, there's no one to hold responsible except her. And so she has borne the brunt of his wrongdoing, even though she was not responsible anywhere near the degree to which he was.
Alan, you know that what we've heard from people, who are clamoring for this file to be released is that they want everyone who was involved in this, anyone who did something criminal and untoward, that they should be held responsible. So what you're suggesting, though, is that that they let someone out of prison, who the one person who was held accountable, and I hear your point about her sentence being too long, but she was held accountable, and now you're saying release her. I'm not sure how that's going to go over with the public.
Because she's not the big wig. She knows things. She's the one that might crack the code. So he's saying that, look, yes, she was involved to a degree, but not to the degree that Jeffrey was and other people. But she knows a lot. In that if they, she already was locked up, I'm assuming since around 2018. So you figure she already got half a decade in prison. So you got to ask yourself, is giving her immunity and releasing her from prison worth what everybody is saying that they want? They saying that they want all of this information on Jeffrey Epstein and who was involved. She might be the key. And now, to me, honestly, this would be the best option right now, especially while, nobody is really getting the real information that they want. You got this lady who was literally with this guy, for years, and probably, women, when they're with a man, they know a lot. They're gonna know the shit that nobody knows. So, and he's dead and gone, allegedly. So why not? Why not put her on the stand? Because a lot of people, and if they don't, it's just because it's too many people involved. And man, this shit is so wicked, bro. This shit is so crazy, bro. But this is an actual attorney of him. So, and I seen him. I don't know if I played the video or not, but I seen a video, I think I did, where he was saying that he had a gag order, basically saying that he knows some shit, but he can't really say too much because he has a gag order. And you know what that means. So
No, I agree. It's a difficult decision to make, but she's already served a long period of time. Let me give you an example of what would be found in the file. There's a woman whose name was Sarah Ransom, and she filed an affidavit under oath subject to perjury in which she said that she had in her possession videotapes of Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Richard Branson, and others having sex with 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. She sent emails to that effect to Maureen Callahan of the New York Post. Everybody checked it out. The story didn't check out. It wasn't true. And so she ultimately admitted to the New Yorker that she had committed perjury, essentially, that she had lied, that she had made false statements. That got people in trouble. Right now, only her accusations are in public, but the information that shows that she made up the story has been sealed. Indeed, her own affidavit has been sealed. People don't even know that she filed a perjurious affidavit. So I'm in favor of having everything out there. And we're not going to get the whole story unless Ghislaine Maxwell is prepared to testify as to the whole story. And so you got to bite the bullet and you got to say, look, if we really want the whole story out, she served a long prison term already. Let her out of prison, give her total immunity, and she'll have no reason not to testify as to everything. And if there are, in fact, guilty people, let them, in fact, be punished. But if there are falsely accused people, let the false accusers be punished. There has to be justice on all sides of this issue.
So my recon in this case is that the grand jury transcript is not going to provide much information because it's kind of lasered in on very specific crimes and not generally. My recon is also that the Justice Department files is not going to be particular.
Hey, yo, I wanted to just say real quick, ain't it so crazy how literally somebody can literally just make false allegations against somebody, and a lot of these people will run with it, and then it'll come out. See, the thing is, the part where it comes out that it was a lie, perjury, whatever you want to call it, but they never put emphasis on that. So the people that were affected from these allegations never really get the true, justice. I believe that people who do shit like that, like, a lot of these women who come out and make false accusations on just your average everyday person, saying that, oh, he abused me, he beat me up, he did this and that, and then it comes out that he really didn't, and she was just jealous because he moved on, or whatever the case may be. They should be held accountable. Why are these people never held accountable to the same standards as the people? Like, think about that. Many of them. Who was that? It was I think it was a lacrosse team, but it doesn't matter who it was. But it was a few people, a few guys that were in like high school, I believe, who got their whole careers fucked. They had full rides and things like that, who got all of that, ruined because of some chick who said that they raped her. And it came out that she lied. She didn't go to prison. Nothing happened to her. But these dudes literally had their whole future ruined. The dude that got, the black guy that got released after 40 years, I believe. I think it was 40 or maybe a little more than 40 years. This dude spent in prison off two twin sisters lying because they were fucking their cousin. And they didn't want it to come out that they were fucking their cousin, so they said that he raped them. He didn't even know them and did 40 years. Just think about that, bro. All off of a false accusation, bro. Like, bro, there's really a law. I looked it up when I was in prison called hearsay law. And it's a real law. You could really be locked up off of hearsay, bro. Not off of facts, not off of evidence. Just off of somebody saying that you did something. That is some wicked shit, bro. And it's a lot of people out here that's doing time in prison, or, just these celebrities who go through this shit. Just even the fact that you got to even go through this humiliation, and people thinking that, you may have did, some pedophile shit, or, was abusive, or whatever the case may be. And then it comes out that it was just all a lie. And they get their whole reputation tarnished because there's always going to be them people who be like, man, they just saying that. Oh, he got off because he got money, or whatever the case may be. Like, that's crazy. Like, he said that she sent emails to actual news stations and things like that. And obviously they ran with the stories, and then it came out after the fact that it was just all a lie. And I guarantee you nothing happened to her neither.
Particularly revealing either. I know from what I'm told is that Trump's name is mentioned more than a few times, nothing untoward there.
That's right.
It seems to me that the real information may come from the various civil cases that were filed against Epstein and Maxwell. You have been privy to a lot of those files. That's my understanding. Am I right?
You're right that that's where the information would be, and that 2 or 3 judges, federal judges, have been the ones who've sealed this information, and they've sealed it primarily in order to protect the victims. But we don't know how many of them are victims and how many of them are perpetrators. How many of them are mixed victims, perpetrators? That is, they may have been victimized and then they victimized others by falsely accusing them for money. This is a very complex picture, a very complex story. And the only way to get to the bottom of it is to reveal all the written information, and that will give you maybe 30 or 40% of the information. The rest will have to come from Ghislaine Maxwell. So make a deal with her. That's the way the criminal justice system generally operates. Let's make a deal. And as Abby Hoffman once said, the only justice in the criminal system takes place. The only justice in the halls of justice take place in the halls when you make deals. And I think it's time for a deal to exchange information from Ghislaine Maxwell for allowing her to complete her sentence in a reasonable period of time.
Do you think she would play ball if all she gets is use immunity?
I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't been in contact with her for years. I have no idea. But
it just doesn't seem like there's a lot in it for her if all she gets is we're not going to prosecute you for what you say.
And especially since she's already been prosecuted. Look, she has a very, very strong argument that she was covered by the immunity deal that was struck between the civil plaintiffs and Jeffrey Epstein. It included all co-conspirators, and she was allegedly a co-conspirator. So I think striking an appropriate deal with her is a win-win. It's a win for justice, and it's a win for total transparency because she'll tell the truth.
All right. We appreciate you coming on. Thank
you. Yeah. So we'll keep digging into that. You know, hopefully something happens with it. But it's not the biggest, it's not the biggest news in the agenda in the United States, man. We worrying about motherfucking prices going down. I know I am. And I can't wait until this thing it goes into effect January, this whole one big beautiful bill to go into effect, you know, because I need that no tax on overtime, people, and I know you do too. We need that paper. We need that money, that Bosky, that mozzarella. You feel me? But let's get into this. Yo, this dude, Jesse Lee Peterson, is fucking funny, bro. He's a guy who for years basically is all the clips that I've seen, he's basically like not with the whole racism thing, and you know, but he does have an interesting perspective. And you know, I try to, you know, look at everybody's perspective on shit. You know, the only thing that I can say that he kind of does that, like, I'll be like, when he tries to like diminish the things that did happen to black people, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, I do understand his point of view of like, get over it. Like, it happened. It is what it is. Like, we need to, like, you know, stop with the division, you know, like black, white, you're this, you're that, we're this, you know, like all the division that's been put in place to where everybody is like so divided, you know what I mean? But we're gonna get into this. I don't know if we're gonna play the whole thing, but we're definitely gonna play a little bit of it and basically get the gist of what the video is about. And yeah, let's talk about it, people.
People in our community have been accused of selling out for financial gain, political advantages, and even for something as simple as social media clout. Woohoo! Tonight, the business of being black are sellouts. And who better to have this spirited conversation with than guests that I personally enjoy. Please welcome author and activist Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. Hi, Reverend Peterson. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing? All is well. Thanks for having me on.
Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Dr. Umar Johnson is with us. Dr. Umar, hey.
Good evening, Queen. Glad to be with you.
and the president of the African History Network, Michael Imhotep. Hi, Michael. How are you tonight?
How you doing, Miss Tammy Mack? Thanks for having me back.
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, and it's lovely to see your face on this show, so thank you.
Thank you.
Why is the question I start with on the Tammy Mack Show every night, and tonight is no different. Why should Black people care if they're a sellout or not? I'll give it to you first, Michael.
Why should Black people, you're talking about the individual person? Why should they care?
The individual person or Black people as in the community?
Well, if we take the community first, the collective, a person who's a sellout will purposely do things that are detrimental to the African-American community for personal gain, financial position, what have you, from my basic understanding of sellouts. So I think, and this can be in various forms, so the community has to be concerned because of the damage, the harm that it can do to the collective, to the community. The individual should be concerned because of, one, they are part of a collective. It's not just this individualism that like really became popular in the 1980s here in the US, this rugged individualism. You're part of a collective, you're part of a whole, you're part of an African village, whether you realize it or not. So I think you have to be concerned about what you contribute to the community, what you contribute to society, what type of energy also you put out into the universe. And then there's a universal law called karma, what goes around comes around.
Yeah. All right. Reverend Jesse, why should Black people care about the word sellout?
Well, in reality, there is no such thing as sellout. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil. And within the Black people, most Black people today are in a fallen state. They don't know God. They don't have love. They come from screwed up families, so they're very angry. And in their state of anger, they're very judgmental because they have a big pride about them, which is the nature of Satan. And so when other Blacks overcome that fallen state and return to what is right and love what is right and love God with all their heart, soul, and might, and their neighbor as themselves, the Blacks who are in a fallen state cannot handle that because they're very judgmental. And what they try to do in their state of evil, they try to keep other Black men and women down because they hate good. And if you notice, Tammy, most Black people today don't believe in God. Most of them are evil and they hate good. And that's what the primary state is. So they'll blame somebody else for their problems rather than facing them themselves. And you can always tell a man or a woman who is in a fallen state, they blame everybody else for their failures. And most Black people are doing that today.
Dr. Umar, sellout.
I would say that when you deal with the concept of the sellout, you have to deal with it within the context of post-traumatic slavery disease. I always say that the Negro is one of the greatest creations of the modern era because the Negro is the only organism that will work against its own best interests without being paid to do so. And when we deal with the politics of selling out, we have to recognize that selling out is extremely accepted in the Black community because the Black community has never created a code of conduct for its members. Every other culture, although they are not monolithic, they do not live in a utopia, but they do have a code of conduct. We have never created such a code in the modern era. And because we haven't created a code, a lot of people can ignore the accusation that they have sold out because every person has their own definition, which is based on their own personal commitment to the Black community. So for example, to Dr. Umar Johnson, if you date outside of your race, you're a sellout because protecting and maintaining the traditional Black family, in my opinion, is something that all of us should be in the business of doing. But for the next person, dating outside of your race may be accepted. Some people would see a Black person worshiping an image of Jesus as a white man as clearly being indicative of selling out. But someone else would say There's nothing wrong with worshiping Jesus in the image of your oppressor. And so we have different levels of commitment to the Black community, and those different levels of commitment, Tammy, dictate.
Hey, yo, look at Jesse Lee Peterson. Look at his face. Look at his face, bro. He looking like, man, shut the fuck up. Now, look, I respect all of these people, man. You know, everybody has their right to their opinions on things, you know, but there is a such thing as extreme, bro. There is a such thing, right? So just to go off topic real quick, for example, I hear a lot of these, you know, we live in America where a lot of people are Christians, right? So when I see a lot of these YouTube channels, YouTube people who talk about Islam, for example, and I'm speaking on this because I'm Muslim, right? And I see them talk about Islam in a negative way because they're Christian, first off, and then because they just don't know about Islam, right? And then they view it through the extreme lens, meaning they base the whole of Islam in the Muslim community off of terrorism, for example, and the things that select few Muslims do in these foreign countries. And we view that, well, America will view them as terrorists, but if you go to, you know, the Middle East, for example, they will view America as terrorists. You know what I'm saying? So that is an opinion. It's not a fact. You know what I mean? But that's an example of an extreme. You got people who do extreme things in the name of Allah, and you have a lot of people who are brainwashed to believe that that's what Muslims in the and what Islam stands for, and it's just not true. Now, what Dr. Umar just said, I believe, this is my opinion, that is extreme. To not date outside your race. Listen, Allah, which is translated in the English language as God, says God made everybody differently, you know, different shades and all of that. You know what I mean? He didn't say, God never said in any book that, you know, you have to stay within your race and all of that. Is there anything wrong with it? No. If you choose to want to be, if you're Black and choose to want to be with a Black woman, cool. And vice versa. A Black woman wanting to be with a Black man, and that goes for every other race, that's fine. That's your choice. Because the one thing that God gave us all is free will to do as you please. We're the ones as humans who put stipulations on and stereotypes on what people can and can't do. So-called. You know what I mean? And I believe that Dr. Umar, he do be having some valid points about things I've heard, but he is very extreme. I've seen him do content with other creators, and they might have a white girlfriend, and he really, he will stop the interview and be like, nah, I can't talk to you, man, because we not on the same, you know, we're not on the same level. Like, it's like, what? Like, so you're not going to do this content with me or have this conversation with me because I got a white wife or what? Like, what are you talking about? I think, to me personally, I think that's an extreme view. You know what I mean? But let's get into it.
How high of a bar we set for one another.
So we don't have a code. The Black community has not designated a code that keeps us, I guess, not selling out. Speaking of sellout, let's make sure that we're working on the same definition of a sellout here. So, Reverend Jesse, you say that there's no such thing as a sellout, but you can admit that the word sellout does exist and that it is used, right?
Yeah, it is used, just like the word racism. We all know that there's no such thing as racism. It's a word that made up to deceive the blind. And so when they use the word sellout, it's meant to divide and conquer. But if you're not in a fallen state, meaning that Satan is not your daddy, you can see the game that's being played. Like Dr. Umar just said, he just spoke as a blind man. He has no idea what he's talking about, because there's no such thing as slavery syndrome or whatever he said. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. And in the good old days, when boys were boys and men were men, men knew that, and they led their wives and children in the right way to go. And they did have a conduct of morality. They treated everyone they would like in the way that they would like to be treated, never mind the color. They taught their children how to work and be responsible and not blame and whine. And they didn't put it out there as though they couldn't make it. Dr. Umar Johnson just
Well, I
made
don't
up
think we
words.
should. I don't. Reverend Jesse, I don't think we should suggest that one person knows more than the other, in a sense of you saying you know it all and anyone else on the panel knows less. That's a little unfair.
Yeah, well, I may not know my flowers.
First of all, he never even said that. He never said that he knows it all. And this is how you know she's like, you can already tell that she's coming from a bias. She's going to come from a biased perspective regardless. You know what I mean? She's going to be on the side of you know, Dr. Umar and Michael. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. But before we keep going, I want to say that what he said does make sense, though. That is the downfall to the black community, is that we keep, you know, blaming the white man for our issues and things like that. Like I said before, you can't get away from the fact that history happened. You know what I mean? It happened. It is what it is. But the thing that I don't like is that they never bring up all of the history. When people are debating and they're having these type of tough conversations, they're only going to bring up anything that is going to validate their point. So when we talk about slavery, for example, you're talking about a time in the world, not just in the United States, because the United States was just being built. You know, it started with 13 colonies and all of that, then it grew and it kept getting bigger and bigger. In those times, you got to remember that people sailed the seas and went to shores and they conquered land, and that's what they did all around the world. And so, and the thing that they don't bring up about slavery, which wasn't a good thing, you know what I mean? It wasn't a good thing. You know, taking people from their homeland and giving them basically a whole new identity, and, you know, making them lose their religion and everything. It's nothing good about that. But they don't tell you about how the Africans were selling their people. That's the part that they always conveniently leave out when they talk about slavery. Now, one of the best examples of that is, and I was just talking about this the other day, when you look at the I don't know if it was considered a show or a movie, but I think it was just like a long movie, but it was made up into short short films. But I think it was a series. It was called The Roots. It's old. It's from like the 70s, and it was about Kunta Kinte and Chicken George and stuff like that. It was a good, I liked it. Like I said, I'm into history, so I watched it. I fucked with it. It was very good. And when you look at when it starts in The Roots, it shows you you see Africans chasing other Africans, catching them, putting them in cages. And they're being sold. They're being sold. They were getting hunted down by their own people. So that's the part that they always leave out when they talk about slavery. And I'm not saying this to try to, you know, put it on black people. You know, it was wrong. It is what it is. But the one thing you got to respect about what he's saying is you got good and you got evil. You know, racism and all of these different words are man-made words that are made up to divide us. And that is true. And they want to keep reminding you that you came from slavery and you were a slave and you're less than me and I'm better than you and I'm superior and our race is better and all of this shit. So it keeps everybody in that negative state of mind, which he's saying in the evil state of mind. So people are stuck in this evil state of mind of the white man started out better than me. And the white man had an advantage because, you know, they just do. But bro, there were poor white people too during Jim Crow law and stuff like that. The same way there were poor black people and there were wealthy black people in the times of Jim Crow too. You know what I'm saying? But what he's trying to say is when you overcome all of that, which I feel like I have at this point, because I used to have that mentality too, where, you know, you blame the white man for everything. Oh man, you know, you get pulled, he pulled me over because he racist. He, you know, when you go to court and you fight your case and you're like, you know, you comparing it to a white person who might have got out easy or whatever. But it's so many different things that are taken into account when you're going to court, when you're getting pulled over. Doesn't mean that not every time you've been pulled over that there wasn't no racism involved. You know what I'm saying? Racism does exist, and it's because we keep it going. You know what I mean? And I think that's what, you know, I feel like that's what he's trying to say, is that like we got to overcome what happened and deal with it and move on. Because until we move on, we're going to continue to keep having these conversations and keep blaming the white man and shit like that. But the one thing that he did say too that I want to speak on is the way what we consider, what we normalized in our communities is literally polar opposites of what the white people do in their households and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, bro, I'm a product of it. You know, even like I didn't live with my dad, and I think that was one of the things that was like destructive. That's why I know that growing up without two parents in the household does hurt your family. You know what I mean? It does hurt you a lot, and it hurts the kids. And motherfuckers grow up emotional, not having that structure and things like that. And I believe that, you know, welfare and all of these things that they put in place were parts of things that affected black people a lot. And it's still affected, to be honest.
But I know Dr. Umar Johnson is blind and that he's wrong. And he doesn't know God. So he's telling people words, fancy words, in order to deceive them. If you knew that our battle is a battle between good and evil, then you wouldn't make up words in order to deceive. You would tell the truth and hope that those who are blind may wake up and see the right way to go. I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama under the Jim Crow law. And back then, black people—
There were no slaves on that plantation?
Well, yeah, they had, you know, matter of fact, my parents ran the plantation, but they weren't slaves when I was growing up. And the point is, black people had a sense of morality then, and they loved what was right. They worked hard. They loved their country. They didn't blame because the men were leading the way.
Hold that thought, Reverend Jesse.
Now the black men saw like women.
Hold that thought, Reverend Jesse. Dr. Umar, go ahead. I don't want him to bring your name up and not allow you to respond.
It's okay. I had been on Reverend Jesse's show before, and they have been trying diligently to have me come back. And one of the reasons I did not return to the show is because I believe that Jesse Lee Peterson knows better. In fact, he would be a textbook definition of a sellout, because he is the type of black man who will bend over backwards to absolve the American white power structure of any responsibility for what happens to black people. And like many sellouts, they always ignore or they try to retreat away from acknowledging the role that systemic racism plays in the life of black people. Racism is not only about the individual mistreatment of black people, it is about the systemic mistreatment of black people. See, racism is a system that all white people participate in, to disadvantage all members of another group. So you don't opt in, you don't opt out. And members of the target group don't opt in or opt out. But what they can do, as Jesse Lee Peterson has so effectively done in his career, is they can identify with the power structure. They can identify with white racism, and they can carve out a niche for themselves by defending the racism that is attacking Black people, as opposed to defending Black people against that racism. A Black man in America who does not stand up for his people and in turn aligns himself with the structure that is eating away at the opportunities of Black people can go very far in this country. Senator Tim Scott is an example. Jesse Lee Peterson is an example. And we will continue to create these types of personalities, Sister Tammy, if we don't come up with a code and if the Black community doesn't start holding its members accountable for dysfunctional behavior.
We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Tammy McLeod Show on Fox Soul.
6-7 months ago. From
On Fox. That's how it's written. That's how I'm saying it. And then our soulmate says, all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk. And then Keep Me Lovely says, imagine asking a white person, why should you care about this word? Hashtag not for sale. That's a good question. And if a white person were on my panel, they'd be asked the same question, because that's the question I start every show with every night. Why should Black people care? Now, the answers are up to you. Perhaps Black people shouldn't care. Perhaps I shouldn't be asking Black people. The answer is all up to you. I simply ask the questions. I am the host and moderator. But thank you for that. I'll get a white person on the show and ask them. Joy says there are really strong words. These are really—
My whole thing is, what does that prove? Bringing a white person that never had anything to do with slavery on your show to ask him, why Black people were for sale. What does that prove? He's gonna look at you like, I don't know. But like I said, and when you bring that up, you conveniently leave out the fact that Black people were literally selling their own people to these white people. And then they came here, and then white people sold Black people to other plantation owners and things like that. But the origin of it was they went and didn't just kidnap Black people. They went and they bought. And then they came back here and they sold Black people. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is deep. It's definitely a tough conversation. But the one thing that I did, the people that I really respect and fuck with is, like, and I said it before, like Malcolm X and Fred Hampton, because these were people that were, like, Malcolm X on one hand was on some Black shit, because you got to understand, you got to put yourself in the times. Like, you got to do your best too, in order to try to understand somebody's point of view. You know what I mean? You can't try to look back in, the 1600s, but have a point of view from 2025. It's just, it's not going to be, you're not going to really understand. You know what I'm saying? Or really have a real respectable take on whatever you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I understand the Black struggle. Yes, there were a lot of things that were put in place to affect the Black community. I would be like, it just would be hypocritical for me to sit there and say that Black people definitely weren't affected in the United States of America. But my whole thing is, and I think, I'm gonna speak on me. My whole thing is, like, at what point do you say, okay, let's just stop blaming white people for our problems, because it's no longer happening. At the end of the day, you choose to stay on welfare, right? You choose to have children knowing that you can't afford to take care of them. You know what I'm saying? You choose to not work hard and take care of your family. You choose to beat on your wife. These are choices. These are choices that you make. So at the end of the day, you could choose to keep playing victim and blaming a white man for your problems, or you can overcome it and say, you know what? Fuck blaming white people for my problems. At the end of the day, I got an opportunity to work, save my money, start a podcast, start a business. Every single person, even the poorest person right now, can choose to change their lives, turn it around, stop playing victim, and get to it. Literally. Like I said it, I'm a felon who most people would say, is at a disadvantage and all of these things, but I don't see that. I just came home from prison, I had a choice to make. That I want to keep going down the same road that was getting me nowhere, or did I want to make some changes? You know what I mean? Am I perfect? No. Is my life where I wanted to be? No. But am I growing? Yes. Am I doing better for myself? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's what you choose to do, and then it's your outlook on everything. If you choose to just look at everybody, at every white person like they're racist, and they want to mean you harm, like, then bro, you're not going to go through life like with a healthy mindset. And that's just what it is, bro. There's evil black people, there's evil white people, fucking every race of people. There's evil people in them races, and there's good people. You know what I mean? I know good white people, I know good black people, I know good Asian people. You know what I'm saying? But it's all what you choose to be. That's why I can respect what the dude Jesse was saying as far as like good and evil. You know what I mean? And I believe that if people had more of a positive mindset on life in general and just on the outlook on many of things, they would go through life more better. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean you're not going to have bumps in the road. Doesn't mean you're not going to have moments in your life where you like, damn, shit ain't going right. That's life. Life going life. You know what I'm saying? But to keep, like, bro, we're the ones that's, when they talk about sellouts, to be honest, I think about, Al Sharpton. I think about Roland Martin. I think about these people who are just Democrat plants who just don't care about their people. They tell you to vote blindly, and every time they bring up race, every single time, and they think that because you're black, you're supposed to vote for this person because they're black, and that the white man is against you, he's been against you, and he doesn't mean you any good. Like, that could go for anybody, literally. So this shit definitely get deep, man.
Really strong words. And then let's see. Okay, Ursula O says it is on and popping tonight on the Tammy Mac Show. Rising the 80s, or I sing the 80s.
This whole cancel culture. A lot of times if somebody says the wrong thing, you just want to cancel them or what have you.
Let's bounce it back a little bit.
Act against the interests of blacks as a whole, Reverend Jesse. But I want to go to Michael here. Michael, according to Harvard law professor and author Randall L. Kennedy, the term sellout refers to black people who knowingly or with gross negligence act against the interests of blacks as a whole. Do you believe that those people exist?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they exist. I was reading some of Randall Kennedy's work earlier today. Yeah, absolutely, they exist. That's what I was talking about. Those who knowingly, there's a difference between somebody who makes a mistake and doesn't know better. You share information with them, they correct their behavior. There's a difference between that and people who actually knowingly do it to profit economically or what have you, and they don't care about doing harm to African Americans, to the community, what have you. So absolutely, it exists. Now, in this, the other thing is, I think in this whole social media culture, okay, I think in this whole cancel culture also, I think sometimes the term sellout may be used prematurely or something like that. Because we're in this whole cancel culture. A lot of times if somebody says the wrong thing, you just want to cancel them or what have you. So I think you're dealing with that. But dealing with that nuance as well. But oh yeah, absolutely, sellouts exist throughout history. During slavery, after slavery, absolutely sellouts exist.
Why do you think the term is so loaded in the Black community?
Well, I think, Dr. Umar hit on something, and, I deal with things like this as well. Because of the history of slavery in this country, African Americans have largely been stripped of African history and culture, things like this. Our culture, and two of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Professor James Small, and Dr. Umar knows who they are. They talk about how African history and culture gives us our foundation. It gives us our VIPs, our values, our interests, and our principles. And this gives us a cultural paradigm that we see reality through, but this gives us some type of code of conduct, as Dr. Umar was talking about. So when you deal with other ethnic groups in this country, for the most part, they have their history and culture intact to a certain extent, and this gives them that code of conduct he was talking about. That gives them that foundation. Largely for us, it's been taken away from us, and many of us, in various ways, been trying to.
Like, I can understand what he's saying to a degree, though, because at the end of the day, the reason why other cultures come to America and they prosper is because they don't come here and bitch and complain and be like looking for the government to, give them handouts. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying a lot more cultures come to America and they thrive because mostly it's because in their country, like it's like the euro then the dollar, right? And then it's like every other currency. So when they come here, $10 to them means a whole lot more than $10 to us. To be honest, Americans are spoiled people. We are spoiled people because we think like we grow up in the hood and we think that we really know poverty until you go to these third world countries and you realize like, yo, like this is poverty. You know what I mean? So the people grow up in these certain countries where, they're like, this is their life, their lifestyle. They grew up this way and they come here and they're like, what? Like, and they thrive quickly because they know how to work hard. They, and also another thing that every other culture values that the Black community doesn't value a lot anymore, because we used to, is education. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean you have to go to college and all of that. I'm just saying that we don't value education as a whole. I'm not saying every single Black person. I'm saying that we don't value education. Most of us, we grow up, including myself. I wanted to be a ball player. I wanted to be in the NBA. And then I wanted to be a rapper, an entertainer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty much the foundation of the Black community. Most motherfuckers could outlook on making it is either becoming a football player, basketball player, a rapper, shit like that. Back in the day, in the 30s, 20s, 40s, 50s, people in our communities valued education. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers, like, it was a lot more, I believe back then, a lot more people went to college and, went after education more than today's time. Like, to be honest. And I think that, a lot of these things that we normalized in our communities is the very things that's holding us back. For real, for real. So the whole sellout conversation is like, my thing is this, right? People expect that, all right, like if you get on and you're a rapper, all right, and you start making millions of dollars, like I'm supposed to come back and I'm supposed to just take care of my whole neighborhood or bring the whole city with me and shit like that. Instead of it being like, nah, I made it, and then you going down that same path and I may come back and give you a little hand to come up to where I'm at. Instead of having that, we don't work together, bro. And that's the bottom line. As a whole, in our communities, we don't work together. We do more hating on each other. We do more motherfucking we don't work together. It's not like that everywhere, because I've seen motherfuckers in like Detroit, and I think it's more like an area, like a state thing, or like an area, certain, West Coast, East Coast, down South, because when you go down South, a lot of them motherfuckers, they, you know, came up together. They did a lot of shit together, and that's how it be. But I've also experienced myself, just like, I just see like so much hate. Like, motherfuckers don't want to see you do good. You know what I mean? And I don't understand it. And I believe that if motherfuckers came together more and actually help one another, because you might excel more in one area that I don't, but we might be aligned, you know, let's just say with podcasting, for instance. You know what I mean? I might not be the best editor or the best, you know, whatever, but you might, you know what I'm saying? You might be able to add value. But instead of it looking at it like, you know, for instance, I used to rap. Let me give you an example. I used to rap, and it was a lot of us, right? But instead of us, like, being like, yo, this guy is the most talented, he got the most potential to make it, and once if we could get him to make it, then we all made it. Instead of having that outlook, it was like everybody was just like trying to be the man. You know what I mean? So there was no togetherness in that whole situation, and it didn't go far. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wanted to break off and go do their own thing. And, you know, it's just what it is, bro. And most people ain't gonna come back. For what? You know what I'm saying? And then what you eat don't make me shit. So because you got on, doesn't mean I'm entitled because I know you. I'm entitled to what you made. Like, nah, like, you worked hard, you got to where you at. Like, I respect that. I would respect that, and, you know, wish nothing but the best for you. You know what I'm saying? And if the time came to where, you know, a motherfucker can reach out and maybe uplift you a little bit, I think that's what matters. You know what I'm saying? Being able to reach back and help somebody, that's cool. But for the most part, bro, it's not selling out if a motherfucker worked hard to get to where he at, and because he didn't come back, you know, he got a family. Niggas got brothers and sisters, and that it costs some money to take care of everybody. You can't, everybody can't go, bro. It's just what it is.
Take back, reclaim certain
We're going to watch a little bit more of this, and then we're going to end it up.
We're operating at a deficit, you know, so, yeah, sellouts definitely exist.
The Reverend Jesse, we got soulmates in the chat for you. One from None says, Jesse holds Black people accountable. But Deja E says, Reverend Jesse claims folks don't know God, but he sounds the most judgmental and hypocritical than anybody. What do you say to that? I guess she's saying hypocritical in a sense of, you say you were raised on a plantation, or your parents were raised on a plantation, but how can
Yo, I told you she would be biased. Her first thing was, she said that somebody commented and said that Jesse Lee Peterson is holding Black people accountable. And then she went straight into a negative comment that somebody said about him being a hypocrite, or he doesn't really know God, or something like that. Like, I don't like shit like that. If you're going to be a commentator, be a commentator. Don't try to, like, you know, play one side. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that shit is whack.
plantation exist if there were no slaves? So that in itself would be kind of incongruent or hypocritical. What do you say to that?
Once upon a time, there were slaves in America. That is not happening today, and it wasn't happening when I was growing up in Alabama. This idea that slavery is the cause of the lack of morality for Black people is insane. It's just another sign of an illogical mindset. Because when I was growing up, the bathroom was outdoors, you know, outside bathroom. I had to work the cotton fields and things like that. But it was the character of the man or the woman that counted. And when I was growing up, Black people at that time were known to be men and women of character. Today, Black people, not all, but most, are known to be men and women who lack character. The world knows that Black people are suffering not because of this phony idea of racism, slavery, systemic racism, and all that crap. They know that Black people are immoral, that they come from failing parents, and that they hate everybody, and they have no love.
But
Everybody
that's not your
knows
story,
it,
is it,
but
Reverend?
they're afraid to tell the Blacks.
That's not your story, is it, Reverend Jesse? Is that your story?
No, because I was raised differently. I was raised to treat all in the way that I would like to be treated, to be fair and to be honest, because you're either children of God or children of Satan. and it has nothing to do with the color. And the children of God cannot hang out with the children of Satan because they have their hearts are wicked and they have illogical mindset. The two men that just spoke, it made no sense.
So I'd like for you to
it's
teach me.
illogical. They don't have a logic.
Reverend Jesse, I would like for you to teach me for a moment here.
Yes.
Please break me away from tradition and what I've been taught in the white schools that I've attended that suggest that there was this society in America that wouldn't allow white people and black people to drink from the water fountains. Did the white institutions I attend teach me that wrong, or was that correct? I'm ready to learn from you.
Well, as a matter of fact, when I was growing up, I remember the colors only signs and the whites only signs. But because most black people loved what was right, they loved God, they knew that all white people did not feel that way. It was primarily the white people who belonged to the Democratic Party, and they didn't want blacks to be a part of the Democratic Party. And so that's why the blacks started the Republican Party, because the blacks. So when we dealt with for black only signs, for white only, common sense said it wasn't everybody. It was those who serve evil.
But it was majority of the white people. We can agree with that.
No,
right?
it wasn't the majority of black people. It was a few.
I said majority of the white people.
I'm sorry?
Let's get back on to sellouts. Dr. Umar.
Yes. Hold on. Yo, this is shit I'll be talking about. Now, look. Now, he made a valid point. He said that he basically is acknowledging that these things exist, but basically, on the other hand, saying that not all white people were racist. And you know that because you did have the Republican Party who freed the slaves and so forth and so forth, right? I did a whole video on, the KKK and all of that stuff and the Democratic Party and shit. So he's right in the sense of, yes, there were specific people who had hatred, who didn't want whites and blacks to, be together, they wanted motherfuckers to be segregated. You know what I mean? Like, so he's acknowledging the history, but he's kind of letting them know, like, oh, yes, that was in a time in the history, but it's not happening today. And that's the things they try to, like, look over. And that's the whole point. It's not happening today. People can drink from the same water fountain, go to the same schools, get the same education, get the same jobs. People have the same opportunities. And so when they have these conversations, they're still stuck in the past. They're still stuck in slavery, and they're still stuck in Jim Crow era and shit like that. Instead of just moving on and saying, like, yo, that's not the main thing that's hurting the black community right now. Like, right now, the things that are hurting the black community is motherfuckers, motherfuckers going to jail, fathers not being in the home, things like that. And, like, we fell victim to the things that they did put in place, and we know it. It's just like drugs. Like, motherfuckers didn't own boats and planes and or laboratories to make drugs, to make crack cocaine and all of that shit. Obviously, it was put there, but we fell victim to selling it, right? And at one point, if you sold drugs in the community, there were black people who came and corrected that and was like, bro, you're not selling drugs in this community, you tripping. And then it came to a point because they kept coming and coming and coming to the point where motherfuckers just gave in. And when you're poor and when you lack finances and shit like that, they pretty much broke motherfuckers. And motherfuckers start selling drugs. Now motherfuckers getting arrested. Now niggas doing time. Back in those days, motherfuckers was doing fucking decades for selling drugs and shit like that. And yes, these things were put in place to affect the black community. You know what I mean? But if we keep the whole thing is, for me, how I view it is, if we keep falling for it, if we keep doing it, then at that point it's no longer a problem that was just created from them, from the white people, whoever you want to say. It's your problem because you're choosing to keep selling the drugs to your community. You choosing to keep, killing each other and shit like that. We're choosing to do that. The white man ain't making motherfuckers kill each other in the community. So it's like, at some point, motherfuckers we got to start taking accountability and saying like, yo, just what it is. It's not excluding that racism existed in history. It's not excluding that slavery didn't exist. It's just saying in 2025, today, right? And he was saying since basically like he was a kid and he older, he probably was born in the 60s or shit like that. He's saying that when I grew up, it wasn't all people, basically. And then you see how like I just don't like that. You saying I'm just a host, I'm just commentating, but yeah, you're being you're debating with him too. And then he made a valid point, and she tried to skip right over and go to Dr. Umar.
Yes, ma'am, and I would like to respond to him if I may, Sister
And it
Tammy.
wasn't a majority of whites.
Thank you.
I'm a play a little bit more, and then we're gonna end it because this is a long video.
Go ahead, Dr.
I want to clarify something when we talk about racism. Racism is not an individual personality fault.
It doesn't
of white
exist,
people.
man.
Racism is not about individual personality. Racism is about systemic injustice, systemic bias, systemic disproportionality, systemic discrimination. You do not opt out of racism.
Dumb.
All white people benefit from and participate in racism. So whether your ancestors owned Black people or not is irrelevant. And the reason it is irrelevant, Sister Tammy, is because even if your ancestors didn't own Black people, they worked at a job that was created because of the enslavement of Black people. So there's no such thing as slavery did not impact my family. Just like in today's America, all white people benefit from the mass incarceration of Black people. They benefit from the miseducation of Black children. They benefit from the police brutality against Black people. So I want to make sure we are clear.
What you're saying
Racism is not about individual white people
But what
choosing
you're
to
saying
hate
is a
Blacks.
lie.
Racism is about the system of racism
That's a
that
lie.
controls opportunities and resources, Sister Tammy. Racism is not about the attitude. It's about the control of resources and opportunities.
Tammy, that is not true. This is why we have to we must get to know ourselves so that we can overcome that fallen state. Dr. Umar is evil for putting out a lie like that lies like that because people are going to believe in
let's
it.
refrain from calling people names.
Okay,
Reverend
but
Jesse.
he's not telling the truth.
We have to refrain, Sister Tammy, but at the same time,
he is
I
evil.
think it's important that we understand the difference between the Negro and the coon. Sister Tammy, this is a very important distinction that has to be made. The Negro is innocent in his ignorance, Sister Tammy. As Brother Michael said earlier, some people make mistakes against the race unknowingly. If you make a mistake against the race unknowingly, that was a Negro. Negroes are innocent. They think white people are more intelligent. They think Jesus is Black because they haven't been taught any better. But a coon knows better. But the coon voluntarily identifies with his oppressor because there is an agenda that he's looking to get filled. And the sad thing about Jesse Lee Peterson is he is too old to be cooning at this point in his life. And the fact that he claims to be a man of God doing the devil's work makes him a total hypocrite.
But Tammy, you know what I just want to add to that? To hear Dr. Umar and the other man to speak this way.
That's Michael.
Is Michael, sorry. To hear Michael and Dr. Umar speak this way is abnormal for men. Normally men, when I was growing up, they had logical mindset. But today's black man has an illogical mindset because he thinks like a woman. He has not overcome the spirit of the woman and returned to the logical
There
mindset
is nothing
of the
more
father,
effeminate than a
because
white man defending the white power structure against black people.
they're
There is
illogical
nothing
in
more
their
effeminate
mindset.
than a
If you
black man
notice that,
defending the
why
white
are you
power
speaking, man?
structure
I'm
against
talking.
black people.
Hey, why are you speaking? Hold on.
You are politically
men are supposed
effeminate,
to be
Jesse Lee Peterson.
logical in their mind.
You are politically
and women
effeminate.
are
You
illogical
are
in their mindset,
politically
right?
effeminate.
Why are you
You
screaming
are
over me?
defending the white power structure
Satan, hold
against
on.
your own people while you claim to be a man of God.
Satan,
You
hold
are
on.
a disgrace to your race, sir. You
Satan,
are
calm
a
down.
disgrace to your race.
And so normally
Dr.
the
Umar,
men with the
let's
logical
yield for a
mindset
second.
would bring the women and children to a logical mindset to help them to overcome. But now the black men, not all but most, they think like their mothers and grandmothers. So they all think just like women, and that's why you can't get it right.
So
Because
indicting racism
there's
makes
an
you
order
a woman.
to God, and that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over
I'm
children.
not interested in
But
I'm not
today's
interested in a religious
today's black
interpretation of
woman
racism.
today's black woman is over the men, and
It
the
is a
men
mistake
following the
to
women.
use
That's
religion
why
to
they have
interpret political phenomena.
That's
We're
why
going
they
to
have
take a
an
quick break and
illogical
we'll come right
mindset.
back on the
interpret
Tammy
political
McFay show on
phenomena.
Fox Soul. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
So hold on. Let me see real quick. Let's see what they
Michael Imhotep. Michael, I do want
Yes.
to talk about a specific, I want to get into some cultural things that may be a sellout right now and talk about
Sure.
that. I was just looking at a video of the comedian Monique kind of explaining an interview between she and comedian Steve Harvey. And I think somewhere in that interview, Steve Harvey said, this is not about black or white, this is about green. And Monique said, and that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to lose my integrity for the green. When Steve Harvey went to visit President Trump, the black community turned on him slightly. He got him back, but they definitely turned on him for making that visit to the president. Why? It would seem to me that if there is a president of the United States and you want him to do some things that are beneficial to your community, you would have to visit him at the least, right? Why was the black community so upset, and did that make Steve Harvey a sellout?
So we're gonna play this last part right here, and then we're gonna end the show. But I wanted to say real quick that how does him visiting Trump make him a sellout to the black community? When the very person that y'all elected in Obama, Barry, y'all elected him 2 terms and he did nothing for black people, but y'all not holding Barack Obama to the same standards that you're trying to hold Trump to, even though Trump did way more for black people than Barack Obama did. And Barack Obama literally said, you can go back and watch these interviews and clips of Obama saying, when I literally said this in my last episode, that there was a reporter, I forget his name, but he specifically asked Barack Obama, why don't you do something specifically for the black community? And Barack Obama's answer was, that's not how America works. But then turned right around, and I'm going to repeat this, turned right around and literally did something specifically. I'm not exactly sure what it all entailed, but did something specifically for the Native Americans because, you know, this was their homeland and it was took in and this and that. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure the details on it, so I'm not going to speak on it, but I know for a fact that he did something specifically for a group of people, but yet he said that that's not how America works. My whole thing is these people can easily fix up the black communities, easily, but they don't want to. They don't want to because they need a group of people that can depend on the government, that could depend on the welfare system and all of these different systems that they put in place, you know, and not saying that only black people are on welfare because that's just not true. But what I'm saying is they need a group of people to be the victims. So every 4 years, they have people to go after and say what they're going to do for them and how they're going to help them. And they're going to do so much for your community and we're going to build it up. But they're not, they never do shit. And I'm play this last segment because I want to hear their responses to this. You know what I'm saying? Because I know they're going to say a bunch of goofy shit.
Well, here's the thing. I think I remember the conversation between Steve Harvey and Monique. And I can understand Monique saying, I don't want to give up my integrity for the money, because in Hollywood, or as some people call it, Hollyweird, you have a lot of people who are willing to give up their integrity for the dollar and do anything for the dollar. So I can understand that from Monique's perspective. It's tricky when you see what's interesting is that at the time that Steve Harvey, and I respect Steve Harvey, at the time Steve Harvey went to visit with Trump was, when it came to the African-American community, Trump wasn't meeting with politicians. He wasn't meeting with people coming with agendas for the African-American community in general. He's meeting with entertainers, okay? And I think Steve Harvey may have meant well, but I wouldn't have gone unless I'm going with a group with an agenda pushing policies, pushing issues to benefit the African-American community. So Steve Harvey is not a politician. I have not known him to be involved in politics in the past. He may have.
Neither is Kim Kardashian, and she visited and got things done.
Well, see, here's the thing. People mention Kim Kardashian.
He said that Donald Trump just be meeting with celebrities. That's not true. Donald Trump literally went to just a regular old barbershop, I believe, and it was in New York City, and was talking to regular people in the community. Like, they want to make, everybody out to be, sellouts because they go and talk to Trump because the so-called black community hates Trump. But a lot of people in this election that just passed are waking up to like bullshit that like he's talking about. Because it's just, they realize that it's people like this dude, Michael, who are, selling them lies. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I wouldn't have met. Nobody cares if you would have met with Donald Trump. What about when fuck is his name? Damn, I forget his name. It's was it Vance Jones? I think it is. When he met with Donald Trump, begged Donald Trump to pass the First Step Act, which basically helped release, I believe, I want to actually look this up real quick, because they be lying, bro. Okay, so the First Step Act is a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill passed by the 115th U.S. Congress and signed into law by President Donald Trump in December of 2018. It aims to reduce, it aims to decrease the federal inmate population and improve public safety through sentencing and prison reform. So it's prison reform. And Donald Trump was the one who passed it. Vance Jones came to Donald Trump, and and then after the fact, when he signed it, just like he gave HBCUs long funding, he had the Platinum Plan, which helped small black businesses and things like that. All of these things that directly affected the black community in a positive way, right? Vance Jones turned around and didn't even give Donald Trump the proper respect. And Donald Trump didn't respect him for that. You know what I'm saying? So they be lying when they sit there and try to make it seem like Donald Trump doesn't do anything for the black community. When you're the president, bro, you got to do what's best for America. And you as an American have to step up and do what's best for you and your family. When you're looking for these politicians and presidents and things like that to turn your life around, you already made a mistake right there. You have to take accountability for the shit that you do. No, Donald Trump didn't send me to prison when I went to prison. The white man didn't send me to prison when I went to prison. I sent myself to prison by doing dumb shit. And since I've been home, I've been home going on 4 years. I ain't even been pulled over since. Don't be in no bullshit, nothing. Why? Because I don't be around the same people. I don't do any of the things that I used to do. I don't be in none of the negative shit. I be doing this podcast thing, cutting hair, working, taking care of my family. And things are going the way I wanted to go because I'm doing what I need to do for me. I'm not worrying about what motherfucking everybody else is doing and what the white man's doing for me or nothing. I'm not looking for the white man to save me, dog. Only person that's going to save SL, Chiron Long, is Chiron Long. And the only person that's going to save you is you. You the only person standing in the way. We a lot of times, bro, we stand in our own way and we don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? And that's because we think we just be trying to be too cool, dog. Niggas want to be gang banging. You know, everybody want to take the easy road and want to sell drugs and do. I did all of these things, dog, except gangbang. I never get gangbang before, but what I'm saying is I did a lot of negative shit and it never got me anywhere. And until we realize that the things that we do and that we normalize ain't going to get us nowhere, we're not going to change. We're going to continue to just keep struggling and keep failing, bro.
But they don't mention the 2 African-American female attorneys behind her who were doing the work, who doing the legal work. See, sees Trump wanted a photo out with her. It was 2 African-American women who are our attorneys doing the legal work, okay? They were the ones doing the groundwork, the grunt work. So oftentimes when they talk about a Kim Kardashian and you see the photo in the White House with Trump and things like this, they leave the sisters out who are really doing the work, who are the attorneys.
Well, I think I'm speaking specifically of the optics of it all. It seemed as if Kim Kardashian could go to Trump and ask for some things and get it done. And perhaps it was part of the tactic to have the 2 Black girls not really be recognized in order to make the accomplishment. I don't know the answer to that.
So what with she got
so disingenuous,
some commutations. Alice Johnson was one of them.
Right.
Got a commutation for it, right? Okay. We're happy that she got out.
But she was never considered a sellout. Steve Harvey was.
Right. Well, who you mean Kim Kardashian was never considered a sellout? Right. Well, she's white. Kim Kardashian is white. Last time I checked, I know she likes black men, but she's white.
Well, she's definitely not Black. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not gonna call her a sellout. No. But I think I saw an interview that Steve Harvey did with D.L. Hughley, and he said if he had known the type of backlash he was going to get, he would not have gone to meet with Trump. And also the backlash his family received. Okay, but once again, if you're gonna go meet with somebody like that, Trump, whoever, you're going to meet with that, you don't want to go as an individual. You want to go with a group that has an agenda to empower African Americans, as opposed to, because Trump likes to be seen with Black entertainers, Black hip hop artists, okay? His name was mentioned, I can't remember, something like 100 times or 200 times over the course of 20 years, something like that, in hip hop songs, okay? Mm-hmm. So Trump liked to be around that, all right, and use those photo ops. So we have to be smarter than that.
Dr. Umar, Michael says he wouldn't have visited Trump. I'm curious to know, would you have?
Yes, I would have. It is important that we as African people always speak truth to power when given an opportunity. I didn't have an issue with Black people meeting with President Trump, but what I did have an issue with, as Brother Michael is saying, is who we allowed to meet with President Trump. Steve Harvey has no history of political activism in the Black community. Steve Harvey has no history of speaking up to the white power structure on behalf of Black people. So although I would have had no problem with a Black activist or organizer meeting with President Trump. I did have a problem with Black celebrities meeting with President Trump. That was the issue. And
Would
as
you
it relates
consider
to
them
Kim,
sellouts?
say that again.
Would you consider them sellouts?
Who?
Steve Harvey and there's another one I'm thinking of. But
I wouldn't consider Steve Harvey a sellout as strictly as I would consider a Shaquille O'Neal, a Charles Barkley, and a Kendrick Perkins sellout. And the reason I'm drawing a distinction is whenever Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Kendrick Perkins open their mouth on issues involving Black people, they always take the side of the white power structure. Whereas with Steve Harvey, I have seen some attempts by him to defend the integrity of Black people. It's not often. I'm not even going to say it's acceptable, but there is levels to the coon kingdom. There's levels to the coon kingdom. So even though they are all sellouts, you have your grade A coons like Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles Barkley, and then you have your grade B coons, which would be like a Kendrick Perkins and a Shaq, and then you have your grade C coons, which would be like a Steve Harvey. So there's levels to the coon kingdom. Say again.
But you do put him in the coon kingdom.
I would put Steve Harvey in the coon kingdom, but he wouldn't be grade A like Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles Barkley. And the other thing I wanted to say quickly, Tammy, with Kim Kardashian, that was a perfect example of racism on the part of the white power structure who says, I would rather hear a white woman articulate the issues of incarcerated Black females. Now you have hundreds of Black women who fight for the liberation of incarcerated sisters every day. I can run off organizations all day long, but instead of meeting with Black women who are in the trenches doing the work, we are instead going to let a privileged white woman articulate the issues for Black people. And Sister Tammy, that was dangerous, that Black women supported Kim Kardashian being their mouthpiece, because what it does is it reinforces an old stereotype that Black people are not intellectually sound enough to articulate their own issues and that they need a white person to do it. We should never celebrate a white person being selected to represent our issues. It should always be someone who looks like us.
That should be a part of the code.
That should be part of the code.
Go ahead, Michael. Jesse, we're coming right to you. Go ahead, Michael.
Just a quick clarification. I didn't say I wouldn't go to meet with Trump. I said I wouldn't go by myself. I would go with a group of people a group of African Americans who have a political agenda, who have an agenda to get something for our people. I wouldn't just go by myself, and I wouldn't go for a photo op.
Absolutely. Reverend Jesse.
Yes.
You're a part of the coon kingdom, he says.
That's right. You know, you just heard the voice of a beta male. That made no sense of what the doctor said and what Michael said. It's sad to see that most Black people believe that they're all the same because of their color. They're not looking at their true self. They are a spirit created in the image of God. They don't know that. They're going by colors. And so they're all in the same pot, headed down to the road to destruction.
Reverend Jesse, I want to ask you.
Donald Trump was the best thing that ever happened to Black America.
Bro, why does she keep cutting him off every time she talks, but she let them talk every single time?
Because Donald Trump did not see colors. He saw colors, but he wasn't into the color thing. He was into what is right. And that's why he was able to help Black people more so than any other president that we have had in the last, I don't know how many years, right? Obama was the worst, by the way, but Donald Trump was the best. I call him the great white hope because he made America great again. Black people went to work. They started buying homes and starting families and things like that because of Donald Trump. But these people like Dr.Umar and Michael, they're into their color. They're in a fallen state. They're weak males, and they cannot see. They can't see that Donald Trump was a man of God. He was a conservative, Christian, straight white man who loved what's right. And he wasn't into the color. That's why Kanye West and other Black men and women who met with the president, they respected him because he was not into color. He gave black university more money than anybody else, and all they did was misuse it. He did more to help the blacks than anyone else.
We're going to take a quick break.
All right, we're going to end that on that one, man. But listen, man. They all made some points here and there that I respect. But overall, man, I really think that Jesse Lee Peterson made the most sense. And he was the one that just noticed that, you know, Michael wasn't either, but noticed that he wasn't emotional. He wasn't getting loud and all of that. But I guess that's just Dr. Umar's character, because I've seen him plenty of times and he gets real, like, you know, like, and I don't know why do we in the black community, when we get in these like positions where we, you know, are, I'm not gonna say preaching, but like just giving these speeches, like, why do we gotta talk with like the like Martin Luther King and them, that's what they did in their times. Like, we don't gotta continue that, man. You could just talk the way you talk and get your point across. Like, we don't gotta be, and we was on, and I wouldn't have known. Like, bro, we don't gotta do that no more, bro. Like, that's just what they did in their times, bro, and just leave it there, bro. You can get your point across and make valid points just being yourself. But you know, just to give my last little bit of thoughts on that whole video, he was right. Donald Trump did do more for black people than the people that I would say that black people look up to the most, in, you know, like people like Barack Obama, for instance, because he was considered the first, I guess he's the first black president and the only one. So you don't really have too much to work with as far as talking about others, but you do have politicians and, you know, preachers and things like that who don't do nothing but sell out their community. Look at all of these churches, for example, right? And people want to talk about Islam, but if you go to a mosque, you will never see the mosque pass out a collection plate. Anything that you do for a mosque is voluntarily, and it's up to you if you want to do it. But if you go to these, they got these castle fucking churches passing out collection plates to all of these people and getting, millions of dollars, and that money is not going back into the community. I'm not saying every single church. I'm not saying that there aren't good churches out there who do good for their community. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for what I see overall, when we talk about the black church and shit like that, it just seems like a big money grab. You're just preying on people's desperation and depression and things they're going through in their life, and you're going to tell them that God is going to save them and this and that. Listen, I hear people talk about manifestation, right? In the sense that if you believe something enough, then it's going to happen. Manifestation does not work unless you put in the work. And that goes for anything in your life. You will never be anything that you're trying to be unless you put in the work in order to get there. I don't care what it is. Whether you're trying to be a barber, whether you're trying to be an engineer, whether you're trying to be a doctor. If you don't put in the work, go to school, learn the trade, whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you don't put in the skills in order to do that, you will not go far in it at all. If anything, you'll give up. You know what I mean? So listen, at the end of the day, it's 2025. We need to look past what happened. We look past the past, because dwelling on the past ain't going to do shit for your future. And it's just what it is. You know what I mean? So we gotta move on, stop playing victims, you know, use government assistance as a temporary tool that's going to help you and your family temporarily. And we just need to start making smarter decisions. You know what I mean? Do you know that the poorest people have the most children? And it's not wrong with having children. I think it's a beautiful thing. You know, I just had, I got another one on the way. I'm having 2 back to back. I love it. You know what I'm saying? But I know that I got to work extremely hard in order for me to be able to take care of my kids. You know what I mean? And all my kids live with me. You know what I mean? So, but but I love it though. You know, I love being a father. I love taking care of my kids. I love going to work. I love busting my ass and just making sure my kids have, you know what I'm saying? And I think every good father and every father, and I know a lot of them who love their kids. I see them, you know, posting videos of their kids playing football and sports and doing different things. Man, I love that. I love seeing that. I love seeing most of the people that I know are good fathers and they take care of their kids. And I'm just speaking on fathers because I'm a father, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of good mothers out there too. But at the end of the day, as a whole, as a culture, we need to start working together more. We need to start doing more things together. We need to start investing together more, building businesses together, and stop having this just mindset of, you know, I could do everything all by myself. You know, recently I just, I used the green screen in my studio, but I'm working on building like a set because when I'm looking to maybe start another channel and have a co-host, and I that's the goal. But if I don't have a co-host, I want to have just an atmosphere where I could bring somebody and just have a dope set that we can rock out on. And I've been building this up, and I got help. You know what I'm saying? Hey, cuz up, yo, cuz, I need you. I'm trying to buy this, that, and the third. Send me some money. My brother. Everybody, my wife been super supportive and just like, yo, you doing your thing. And, she watch all my videos. She watching right now. And she, you got to just have good people that's going to be there for you and you be there for them too. You know what I'm saying? And, we need to just be together, bro. That's just what it all boils down to, bro. But more importantly, motherfuckers got to stop playing victim. You're not a victim. You're a man, a woman that have all we have all the same opportunities as everybody else, bro. And it all boils down to character and what you want to do with your life. And that's going to determine how far you get in life, period, man. But listen, man, this was a long one. I went for 3 hours today, bro. This shit is dope as fuck, bro. I really love this shit, bro. Like, I really love this shit, man. This shit is cool as fuck. And I just can't wait to really build, a nice little community, have a nice little chat and shit like that. This shit is dope as hell, man. I appreciate everybody that definitely stayed tuned in. I can see the views every time. I seem like every time I go live, my views are going up, and that's all I care about. It's just growth, because that's what it's about, man. I don't care if I got one person watching or if I got 5 the goal is to keep growing, and that's what I'm doing, baby, and I love it. And I appreciate all y'all for tuning in and watching. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all comment, and also hit that notification bell so you get notified every single time I drop a dope video. This your boy, Chiron Long, a.k.a. SL550. I'm out. Peace.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
a poor man prayers.
Every man bleeds,
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.